You.
My dear Congress supporters and friends, आज आमच्यामध्ये बलम राजू आयलो आसा आणि म्हाका दिसता काल थोडा वेळ मेळ्ळो तो म्हाका तो उलयता ते भाशेन आय एम शुअर ही इज गोइंग टू educate us and going to enthuse us on issues regarding the plans of the government of India. Sir, I welcome you. ही तुमची चोड वेळ घेन आसतना तुमकां योगा and I hope and wish that we carry his word down to the villages. We spread his word. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex Sikerapa. आता आमच्या ऑपरेशन लीडराक मिस्टर कामते रिक्वेस्ट करतात की त्याने बुके देऊन आमच्या गेस्टाचे स्वागत करपाचे. तसेच ऑपोजिशन लीडर श्री कामत यांच्याकडे या गॅदरिंगात त्यांना आपले विचार मांडपाचे असे रिक्वेस्ट करतात.
गोय प्रदेश काँग्रेस कमिटीचे अध्यक्ष गिरीश चोरणकर, आयचे प्रमुख वक्ते माजी केंद्रीय मंत्री पल्लम राजू, वर्किंग प्रेसिडेंट बाब अलेक्स नाटेकर, हांगा हजर आशिल्ले पक्षाचे सगळे प्रमुख पदाधिकारी, फ्रंटलाचे चेअरपर्सन आणि प्रमुख कार्यकर्ते. पल्लम राजू काल गोंयांत आयलो. काल ताणें प्रेस कॉन्फरन्स एड्रेस केली. मॉनेटायझेशन पायपलायन म्हणजे गव्हर्मेंट ऑफ इंडियान जे पळय कितें डिक्लेअर केलां एसेट मॉनेटायझेशन ऑफ एसेट पायपलायन, त्या संदर्भात ताणें अत्यंत बऱ्या पद्धतीन प्रेस कॉन्फरन्स दिली. पल्लम राजू हो अशे काही मंत्र्यां पैकी UPA गव्हर्मेंटान जाणें मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट फॉर डिफेन्स म्हणूनय पोर्टफोलिओ सांबाळ्ळा, मिनिस्टर फॉर HRD म्हणूनय HRDचोय पोर्टफोलिओ सांबाळ्ळा. एक अत्यंत एफिशियंट मिनिस्टर जो खंयच्याय टॉपिकाचेर खंयच्या वेळाचेर उलोवपाक शकता अशी त्याची ख्याती. हांव चीफ मिनिस्टर आसतना म्हजे खूब लागींचे ताजे कडेन संबंद आशिल्ले. खूब फावटी कितें आसा जाल्यार ताका मेळटालो आनी एक ताका ताजी आशिल्ली नॉलेज आनी पक्षा कडेन आशिल्लें तागेलें रिलेशनशीप म्हणजे पक्ष संघटनेक तो मिनिस्टर जालो तरी विसरलो ना आनी तातूंतल्यान आज तो गोंयांत आयला बेजिकली बिकॉज ऑफ हीज रिलेशनशीप विथ द ऑर्गनायझेशन आनी ऑर्गनायझेशन ताका ताजें जें स्थान आसा त्या स्थानाक लागून तो आतां खंय खंय आपयता थंय थंय वता. तो रावता एक्चुअली हैदराबादाक, पूण दॅट वे एफिशियंट मिनिस्टर हू हॅज परफॉर्म इन द UPA गव्हर्मेंट. म्हणजे ज्या UPA गव्हर्मेंटा भितर ज्या मंत्र्याचे परफॉर्मन्स बरे आशिल्ले, बरो रेटींग आसतालो, तातूंत भितर पल्लम राजू हो एक मिनिस्टर. ताजी एकच स्पेशालिटी, आपले पोर्टफोलिओ पुरतेंच ताजें ज्ञान नॉलेज सीमीत नासताली जाल्यार ताका खंयच्याय टॉपिकाचेर आज सुद्दां जर कोणें ताका कसलोय प्रश्न विचारलो जाल्यार ही वील नॉट हेजिटेट टू रिप्लाय विदाउट एनी प्रॉब्लेम. तशी ताची नॉलेज बाकीच्याय टॉपिक्साचेर अत्यंत बरी नॉलेज आसा. अत्यंत बरो मनीस, कार्यकर्त्यांक सगळ्यांक वळखुपी, कार्यकर्त्यां कडेन बरे संबंद दवरपी आनी डावन टू अर्थ म्हणटा पळय त्या टायपाचो एक मिनिस्टर. म्हणजे म्हाका याद जाता की हांव केन्ना मिनिस्टर आसतना ताजे वांगडा मेळपाक गेलो जाल्यार सारको येतालो दारा कडेन सुद्दां सोडपाक. म्हणजे अशें एक ताजें नेचर आनी तसो मनीस आज आमकां हांगा आयला, गोंयांत आयला. ताजो एक आमी गिरीशान ठरयलें की सगळ्या कार्यकर्त्यांनी ताजो बेनिफीट घेवचो, ताजें नॉलेज सगळ्या कार्यकर्त्यांनी कळचें where Congress party stands vis-a-vis various policy issues. म्हणजे तो फक्त एकच विषय असो न्ही, ताका तो खंयच्याय विशयाचेर विचारले जाल्यार ही वील बी प्रॉम्प्टली आन्सरिंग युअर क्वेश्चन्स. अशें एक ताणें आज आयोजीत केलो. हांव ताचें स्वागत करता आनी म्हाका खात्री आसा आसा की ह्या हॉलांतलो प्रत्येक कार्यकर्तो घरा वतना ताजे कडल्यान कितें तरी नॉलेज घेवन वतलो अशी म्हाका गॅरंटी आसा. थँक्यू.
थँक्यू मिस्टर कामत सर. आता तुमच्या समोर जे मुद्दम येयल्ले आसा निरनिळ्या विशयावर भाशण करपाक, निरनिळ्या विशय सब्जेक्ट अटेंड करपा खातीर माजी मंत्री फॉर्मर HRD मिनिस्टर श्री पल्लम राजू. पल्लम राजू एक 3दा पार्लमेंटान निवडून गेल्ले आसात. सगळ्यात पयली म्हणजे 9वी जी पार्लमेंट आसले त्या पार्लमेंटान, मागीर 15वी 14वी ह्या तिनूय पार्लमेंटात ते निवडून गेल्ले. आणि पहिले 9वी पार्लमेंटात जेन्ना ते निवडून गेल्ले ते सगळ्यात यंग तरुण म्हणून खासदार म्हणून जे निवडून गेल्ले असले ते मिस्टर पल्लम राजू असले. पल्लम राजू या निरनिळे सब्जेक्टाचेर हँडल केल्ले आहा. निरनिळे मिनिस्ट्रीन ताणें भाग घेतलो आसा. फॉर्मर HRD मिनिस्टर म्हणून असले ते एज्युकेशन मिनिस्टर असले. जे रुसा म्हणून जे आता जेन्ना कॉलेज एक्रेडिट जातात त्यावेळेची रुसाची फॉर्म्युला असता, जी फायनान्स तांकां मेळलेले असता डेव्हलपमेंट ऑफ द स्टुडंटा खातीर, त्याचे चेअरमॅनशीप पद तांच्यांनी घेतलेले आहा. 2014 सालान 1 लाख स्टुडंटांक जे गरीब आहा तांकां डायरेक्ट सॅलरी डायरेक्ट पेमेंट बँकेन डेपॉझिट करपाची जी प्रथा येयली ती अंडर श्री पल्लम राजू यांच्या मार्गदर्शना खाली त्याने निरनिळ्या क्षेत्रांत युरोप, टोकियो, चायना जपान, रशिया अशा निरनिळ्या कंट्रीज ताणें व्हिजीट करून जे पार्लिमेंटरी बोर्ड आहा त्यांचे चेअरमॅनशीप ताणें घातिल्ले आसा. निरनिळ्या चेअरमॅनशीप ताणें घेतलेले आसा. एज्युकेशन हेजो तेचो खरो पायो आसा. हांव तुमचो जास्त वेळ न घेता, श्री कामत यांनी त्यांचे सांगलेले आहा की ते वर्सटाईल नेचर आहा. अशा ह्या फॉर्मर मिनिस्टराक हांव रिक्वेस्ट करता की तुमच्या समोर ताणें आपले विचार मांडचे म्हणून. श्री पल्लम राजू.
Good morning and thank you for the kind introduction. And everybody understands English? Yeah. Comfortable with English? Okay. Better. So thank you for this welcome and Honorable Goa Congress President Shri Girishji, Honorable CLP Leader and former Chief Minister Shri Digambar Kamatji, Honorable former Minister Alex Sikweraji, Mrs. Shantaram Naik, senior leaders in the Goa Congress, brothers and sisters. Thank you for this welcome and it's a pleasure to be amongst you and to be able to share my thoughts. So like Kamatji has said, yesterday I came to address the press conference which AICC is doing all over the country on the national monetization pipeline, which is a disastrous move by the current government. Anyway, before I get into issues, the important thing is we are going to be going for election in Goa in a few months, and I think it is important to prepare very well. From what I have seen of Girishji and Kamatji, they are both approachable people with vast experience, and what I have seen is one of the few PCC presidents I have seen who doesn't behave like a PCC president. He's like a, he takes everybody along. He's not sitting on a high chair and says, I am keeping an arm's length. He's somebody who is a team player. So that's the strength. And with Mr. Kamat's vast experience, I think we should formulate a good strategy. I think it is important to formulate a good strategy. There are several failures of the central government and there are several emotive issues, I understand, as far as the local politics is concerned. So how do we capitalize them? That is the thing, I think that thinking has to start now. How do we go about what subjects we take to the public is very, very important. Because, emotions play a role in tilting the balance. And I think that is a game that the BJP has mastered. Now we have to counter that with an effective counter strategy. And again, we need to build up our team. Let's not neglect anybody. Whoever is sulking, former MLAs, former leaders, for sulking or keeping a distance, let's go approach them 2 times, 3 times. They will soften and come. We need every hand. We can't say, okay, I don't want that thing. It is important to carry everybody along. Unless they are negative, their involvement becomes counterproductive to the party's image. That's another issue that you have to think about. So that is a thing that I would urge all of you to do. It is important to win the next election. We would have won the government in the last election itself, except for the way the BJP has done its mechanization and bought over several MLAs and all that. So I think it is important to capitalize the situation. There are glaring failures of the central government. There are strong emotive issues locally. How we take to the people, for that we have to have a strong team and an organization and a strategy. And I'm confident that with the sincere involvement of all of you, we will be able to achieve that. So, I'm sure that all of you being in the public life are aware of the glaring failures that have happened at the national level. Mr. Modi's government has been a disaster from the point of view of the way they have gone about in taking major decisions that have impacted the economy adversely. Beginning with the demonetization. In 2016, when they did the demonetization, just like how Dr. Manmohan Singh had predicted in Parliament, Dr. Manmohan Singh very clearly said it is going to affect the farming sector, it is going to affect the unorganized sector, and it is going to affect the small and medium scale sector. And he said it will have an impact of at least 2% on the GDP, which his words came true. And and he said at that time, this is organized plunder and loot. These are the words that Dr. Manmohan Singh, who chooses to select his words very carefully, said that. And I think it has proven true. I think demonetization hasn't achieved the objectives it was supposed to achieve. In fact, I think it was done to have an advantage in the UP elections, which were around the corner. That was the only objective. They just wanted to define both the other competing parties. Subsequently, the GST, which they were opposing ever since we were proposing in UPA time and Mr. Modi as Chief Minister was opposing, he brought it in without any proper preparation. For the GST, the software had to be in place. The compensation to states had to be in place. All that without working all those things, they just announced it. They had a joint session of Parliament, and Mr. Arun Jaitley very grandly said, it's like a second freedom for India. They made a big tamasha. And these direct benefit transfers, which was our baby, what we started, direct benefit, they've leveraged on it very, very successfully. It makes it look as if it is their agenda. We don't mind, if they're implementing it successfully. The things I hear about the BJP government on the ground level, because they have a vast network of RSS workers or VHP workers, is some of these basic issues that matter, things like, let's say, gas connections, housing, the direct benefit transfers. I think this is where they're trying to score, while they're ruining the economy, these direct benefits to the public is the word of mouth campaign that they're doing and trying to get a leverage and advantage. So, apart from those things, I think the national failures are so obvious, including the face-off we are having with China on the border. I think it's again a glaring diplomatic failure and a bilateral relations failure. What did Mr. Modi do? He did 2 conferences with Xi Jinping. One was in Gujarat, one was in Chennai. He wanted to show the world that I'm a world leader of great stature. He did the same thing with Trump in Houston and in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad. And he's on that showmanship thing. This is the hollowness of his whole approach that we have to expose. See, it is not that we haven't had this border issue for a number of years. We did have this border issue. The border, which is called the line of actual control, which is almost 4,000 kilometers, is actually 2,488 kilometers between China and India. It is called the Line of Actual Control, which was demarcated by the British, which the Chinese do not accept. They go by very historical maps. They say that this was part of the Chinese Empire, including Arunachal Pradesh, which they call Southern Tibet. Because the 6th Dalai Lama was born in Tawang, which is in Arunachal Pradesh. So that's their claim, saying that this is a very historical area. So anyway, we have stood our ground. I mean, the national security advisors have been following a constant dialogue. And when we were in power during UPS time also, we did have a confrontation where they came into the Ladakh area and Pangsong Lake area, and they stayed there for 2 weeks. They made fortifications and they stayed there for 2 weeks. Mr. Anthony was the defense minister there. And we did, bring international pressure. We did have a bilateral negotiation. After 2 weeks, they went back. The reason why these guys are, according to my analysis, the reason these guys are continuing this border standoff is because of the half-hearted posturing we are doing. On one side, we are bringing Trump. We are like, doing all this tamasha of saying that, Trump is my buddy. American president will come whenever we need him. We are taking a strategic stance of going with the Quad, which is America, Japan, America. The Quad is the association which will counter China in Southeast Asia and the South China Sea. That was the objective of the film. And so China wanted to give a message to us, say that I will show you who the dominant power in this region is. That's why they've come and sat up on border. We've never had such an extensive confrontation. And in 4 areas, they have come into our area and occupied land. Only one area, which is the Pangsong Lake area, is one where they have retreated, we have retreated. We had occupied some strategic lands. So in 3 more areas, they have come there, they are rooted there, and this is again, I feel is a direct outcome of our half-hearted posturing and foreign policy failure. So this is, and just imagine the kind of resources we are spending to maintain 50,000 troops all along the border. It's a drain of the resources, especially when the pandemic has been on. So, this is unnecessary and avoidable government expenditure. If we didn't have this confrontation with China, we would be saving all those resources. This is unnecessary. That means there is diplomatic failure in talking about your border, in ensuring that the enemy stays away from your border. So these are things I think that we should tell the enlightened public, how these guys are failing on so many fronts. And economy, I need not tell you, I think the unemployment figures have been the highest in 45 years. The National Survey Organization, which is a government body, it comes out with the figures and before the elections, and they suppress those figures. They don't allow it to come out. This is the kind of fudging they're doing. They've taken over every autonomous institution. The Election Commission just toes the line of whatever the government wants. They are intimidating the press. They are, forcing the press not to write anything that is, against their image, carefully crafted image. They are, the Supreme Court, I think the latest Chief Justice has been taking a stance, but otherwise, they were forced to do a favorable verdict on the Rafale issue, on other issues in favor of the government. So, no institution's autonomy is safeguarded. On important issues, parliamentary debate has to happen. They'll just avoid it. If you remember the 3 agricultural bills that were passed, they were passed without a debate. Such important bills with such far-reaching consequences. No debate. They had the majority in Lok Sabha, they had the majority in Rajya Sabha. By the sheer majority, they would have pushed it through. But, so they would have allowed a debate. They didn't allow a debate. So, democracy is in peril. I think fundamental rights are in peril. So, this is a situation that I think we have to make a beginning of. I think Goa is a great example. And you are all aware that the government is favoring a couple of crony capitalists. It's bending backwards to accommodate them. I'm sure the National Modernization Plan is to accommodate those 2 big industrialists and to do their favors. airports are being handed over, ports are being handed over. The telecom industry, which used to be a very healthy thing, now it's almost become like a monopoly of one provider. So I think these are things that it is not a healthy thing. Even Mr. Chidambaram has commented that if the public sector vanishes, then we are at the mercy of the private sector, which can become a monopoly or a duopoly, who will dictate the prices, which is again inimical to all of us. So this is the way they are harming the economy. And the National Monetization Plan is the latest in the series of their efforts to undermine the whole system and to circumvent the process of fair valuation and hand over the revenue from these assets which have been created by public money to private individuals. So on the face of it looks good that they're saying that eventually we are not transferring to ownership. We only give it to them for 30 or 50 years. But the revenue which would have come into Government of India over a period of time, that is going to be realized by a private bank. And God knows how much money they will actually compensate Government of India. And this national infrastructure pipeline, which they spoke about, Prime Minister spoke about it 3 consecutive Republic Days, Independence Days, August 15th, 2019, August 15th, 2020, and again August 15th, 2021. He said the government is going to spend 100,000 crores on national infrastructure. And so far, not one brick has been laid. So these are issues, of governance, which are, I think, glaring. And that even during the pandemic, they have taken another major decision, again without a debate or consultation. And that was on the education policy, the new education policy. See, if you look at the content of the education policy, it was the team which did the draft of the education policy, very competent individuals. We cannot comment on their caliber or their competency. But then there is a timing for announcing it. And there is also, the decency of bringing that policy in Parliament, debating it before adopting it. So all these decent democratic norms are being given the go-by, and they are acting in a very, very unilateral manner, which is very, very unfortunate. And the Right to Education Act, which we brought in 2010 as the UPA government, one of the things in the UPA Act was that we had the no detention policy, especially in classes 5th and 8th. We said there will not be any exam and there will be no detention. Because that people are from various backgrounds, and the people from underprivileged backgrounds are usually girls, who are more involved in housework and all that. If they fail a subject, they drop out of school. And we don't want children to miss out on their childhood. That was the reason the RTE Act said that there will be no detention up to 8th class. So of course there were some representations from various states saying, how will we know the merits of students if you don't detain them? By all means hold an exam, grade them, but don't detain them. That was the intention of the RTE Act, so that the children do not miss out on their childhood, at least in 8th class, until when education is free all over the country. So that was diluted company. And we had created several higher education institutions, 56 new institutions. I think even Goa got 1 or 2. I think IIT and NIT, yes. So even Goa has benefited through those new institutions that UPA created. And there's been no additional capacity that has been created during these times. Several scholarships were announced for underprivileged students all over the country. That has again been diluted by this government. And it is such an important portfolio, and there has been such a big rotation of ministers, Smriti Irani, then Pranab Javadekar, then the gentleman from Uttarakhand, and lately Pradhan. So it's such an important portfolio that needs continuity and a very, very serious focus. This is the way this government has been functioning, and even that even defense they did that. Mr. Parikar was doing a good job. They removed Mr. Parikar and brought in Nirmala Sitharaman. I mean, this has been the way the whole approach to governance has been. Several failures, and I understand that there is local unhappiness about the roads that are being created, the railway tracks that are being created, primarily to aid the businesses of somebody else at the expense of the Goan citizens. So these are issues I think we have to highlight. So we have to have a strategy, we have to have a proper team, and we have to put in an effort. It's important for us to, I think, taste victory, and we have to work about it in unison. You have great leadership here. You have to, how you leverage them, how you advise them, and since he's a team player, feel free to talk to him. Usually PC presidents are saying, I know everything, but he seems to be like somebody who will take advice from anybody. So I think that's his strength. So I think all of you should speak your mind openly with him, tell him what to do, and I'm sure that we will do a great job in the coming election. If anybody wants to clarify anything specifically, I'll be happy to answer.
I could not do it. Don't hesitate to ask. Please ask. You may have question. Yeah.
You can see sir, about making the government property for the privatization. Rahulji has criticized central government like anything. Then the authority of our party, Dr. Manmohan Singh, P. Chidambaramji, they have cut into pieces to the central government on this issue. I congratulate them. I also congratulate you. But sir, what I feel, the way central government is making the privatization for the help of the capitalist and selling our nation, I think we have to make suitable pamphlet and distribute to the people to know the facts and figures about this privatization of the property. As earlier, demonetization, their GST under the leadership of Mr. Girishi and with the help of Digambar Kamaji, we have made havoc in this state to criticize and make the people aware. So I think with your advice, if we make some pamphlets on this issue, it will be help to our party also, and people will know the facts and figures. Thank you.
You are able to add to this while I ask the question little bit. Sir, as far as this privatization which is going on, what has been noticed is only a group, select group, or rather only two businessmen who are getting benefited. But recently, Nirmala Sitharaman made a comment in the press that although we may Congress is criticizing the policy of privatization, there is no charge of corruption on this government. So we feel that we are feeling a shortcoming here, that we have not been able to explain to the people that how this crony capitalism is itself a corruption. So, please guide us in this.
Yeah, I think you touched a very important point. I mean, two clarifications I need to do. One is they were successful. Hello. They were successful. Yeah. They were successful when we were in power to show a notional. Keep it pressed or something? Hello? I shall start from there. Yeah.
No, I think what you said is very, very important. Both of you suggested. I think it is important to prepare that these information in simple language
that the people will understand. I think that is very, very important, how we put it. Because the basic point is, we did disinvestment, we did not sell away assets. No, we did disinvestment of unprofitable public sector undertakings, whichever were unprofitable and non-strategic. What these guys are doing is, they are giving away profitable companies, and they are also giving away for an uncertain period of time the revenue that is going to accrue from these public assets which were built with public money. So the valuation will not be fair. So it is definitely, the intent is to benefit their cronies. There is no doubt about it. So this is what we must expose. And to give you an example, HPCL was a loss-making entity, and they were trying to get it to be acquired. They forced ONGC to acquire it. As a result, the debt of ONGC, which was a profitable, Navratna, it has gone up from 30,000 crores to 80,000 crores. Similarly, when Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister in Gujarat, they had formed a company called GSPCL, which was drilling off the East Coast. And by the way, my constituency is on the East Coast of Andhra Pradesh. So they were drilling off the East Coast of Andhra Pradesh, GSPCL. They went into losses, 8,000 crores. They forced ONGC to take it over. So now, what I fear is, in this, monetization pipeline issue, all the profitable companies, forget the loss-making ones, the profitable ones, at an undervaluation, they'll give it to their cronies. And all the loss-making banks and things like that that burden will be taken by government. So it's going to be a double whammy for government. The profitable ones are giving away, the unprofitable ones, the government will take the burden. Just because of their mismanagement, they had forced the RBI to give them 1,76,000 crores over the last 3 years. Unprecedented. So they are bending all norms. RBI governor will listen. He's not an economist. He will listen to them. In fact, they had an RBI governor who was an economist and also somebody who was close to the Ambani group, and he quit, if you remember. Because I think they were asking him to do some unreasonable things. So these are things I think we should expose. And coming to our own tenure, when we were in power in UPA, I think if you remember, we paid for the mistakes of our coalition partners. See, nobody can point a finger at Dr. Manmohan Singh. Nobody can point a finger at Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. Nobody can point a finger at Mr. Anthony. We have clean leadership that we can be proud of. But the notional value that Mr. Vinod Rai attributed to the auctioning of the spectrum, he said 176,000 crores. So it made it look like Congress had eaten away 176,000 crores. What we did was, we continued an old policy and gave it to some people that we favored, whether Mr. Raja favored or some of the coalition partners, they gave the spectrum licenses to operate based on the old policy. That I think we failed in explaining it properly. So in the end, in the public side, because of this relentless campaign with the BJP, it made it look like we had eaten away 176,000 crores. Subsequent auctioning also.
Yeah.
Include it.
Yeah.
Subsequently, when they auctioned the spectrum, they realized about 42,000.
What happened to 1,76,000 crores?
No, that was the notional value. That if we had, he said, Mr. Vinod Rai said, if you auction the spectrum, you would have realized this much.
So can I say something?
Yes.
Just now you had just touched that topic of taking gold from RBI.
Yes.
I have some figures, but I just wanted to verify from you because you have much more knowledge than what we have. So
I'm as knowledgeable as you are. I don't claim to have more knowledge.
money taken from RBI in crores. The first installment was of 1.75 lakh crores. Second installment was 3.25 lakh crores. And during Corona lockdown, Modi has taken 1.70 lakh crores. So this is the question that I tell whenever I'm addressing small pockets,
Yes.
that I'm telling them now where this money has gone. And one more point, I just want you to throw light whether I'm right, I'm going in the right direction or not. And the second thing that I always tell them, there is nearly 265 tons of gold जो मोदी ने गिरवी रखा है, where that money has come. So am I right? I don't know.
No, these are, I think, very relevant questions. I think the
So if
important.
we are going to tell him during Corona time,
Yeah.
this is the money that he has borrowed. Now where that money has gone,
Yeah.
and why is it not using it for the people those who died at the time of Corona? So can we pose this set of questions?
I think it depends on how you formulate it so that the common man can
Yeah,
understand.
that's what. So only figures I just
This
wanted
is,
to
we are talking about all these broader issues for our own understanding.
Yeah.
But how we
Yeah,
take it to the public
Right,
is again a strategy that is completely
These are
different.
small things which
Yeah.
people don't understand.
Yes.
This type of money they have extracted, and
Yes.
now that money, none of us got the benefit of it.
Yes.
So I just wanted to verify from you that.
See, you can talk about how effectively the COVID management has been done. I'm sure
Yeah.
it was obvious that it was horrible in phase 1 and also in phase 2 during the second wave. This I think we have, it's a glaring failure. See, what Mr. Modi is very keen on doing his own image building. So whatever vaccines were produced whether in Pune or in Hyderabad, he came and had his first opportunity. And then he started posing with the world that, India is this great vaccine supplier. We have overcome our corona challenges and we are going to supply to the whole world. So all that was produced, instead of vaccinating our own population, everything got exported. And we suffered the second wave. It is a trouble that could have been avoided. And all the deaths that happened, you've seen the bodies floating in the Ganga, you've seen the amount of funeral fires that were lit, all that could have been avoided. So this, we have to, I think, put it in the appropriate language to show that they failed on that fact. But you can, I'll verify those figures.
Yeah.
I only remember the first figure of 176,000, you said 175.
Yeah.
Subsequently, you must have taken also.
Yeah.
But the point there again is, an institution like the RBI, which is supposed to be an autonomous, independent body, that's also being arm twisted to give money to the government.
Government, yeah, that's what.
Yeah.